The sound of tires screeching echoed through the busy city street, followed by the deafening crash of metal on metal. In that split second, everything changed. A man, wealthy and untouchable, rushed out of his sleek car to help a little girl who had been knocked to the ground. The cold rain poured relentlessly, but he didn't hesitate. This was supposed to be a routine day. Meetings, numbers, business deals. But it was about to become anything but ordinary. Little did he know, the girl he had just saved wasn't just some innocent bystander. She was no ordinary child, and, what's more, she had been sent to protect him. Zhou Yang, the CEO of one of the city's most successful companies, was used to power, control, and respect. People feared him, admired him, but no one ever really understood him. A self-made billionaire, Zhou Yang had always kept his emotions locked away behind the polished exterior of a ruthless businessman. He had little room for anything that wasn't profitable, and certainly no patience for those who were beneath him. But when he saw the girl lying there in the rain, her small, fragile body trembling, something inside him snapped. He couldn't just walk away. The little girl, drenched and with wide, innocent eyes, looked up at him. She was trembling, not from the cold, but from something else, something deeper, something that Zhou Yang couldn't put his finger on. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice soft, almost angelic. But as she spoke, there was an uncanny sense of wisdom in her words, a depth that was out of place for a child her age. Zhou Yang was caught off guard. He'd helped many people in his life, people who wanted something in return, people who needed a favor, people who simply weren't important. But this girl felt different. He wanted to walk away, to return to his comfortable, predictable world. But there was something about her, something that pulled him in. It wasn't just gratitude in her eyes. It was something more. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice tinged with a concern he rarely felt. She nodded, but there was a knowing look in her eyes, as though she could see something he couldn't. A shiver ran down his spine. "Thank you for saving me, Mr. Zhou," she said, as if she knew exactly who he was. "But it's not me you need to worry about." The words hung in the air, leaving a trail of unanswered questions. Zhou Yang looked down at her, confusion and curiosity mixing within him. Who was this girl? And what did she mean by that cryptic statement? Was it just the rambling of a child who had been through a traumatic experience? Or was there something more? Something supernatural? He didn't have time to ponder her words, though, because just as quickly as she had appeared, the girl was gone. In the blink of an eye, she had disappeared into the crowd, vanishing as quickly as she had come into his life. Zhou Yang stood there, rain pelting his face, wondering if he had imagined it all. That night, as he sat in his luxurious office, his thoughts kept drifting back to the girl. Something about her kept gnawing at him, and it wasn't just the way she had looked at him. It was her words. "It's not me you need to worry about." He had always been a man of reason, a man who trusted only what he could see, what he could control. But now, there was a doubt in his mind, an unsettling feeling that refused to leave. The next day, he couldn't get the girl out of his head. Everywhere he went, he kept expecting to see her again, but she never appeared. As the days passed, life returned to its usual pace. Work, meetings, deals, the constant hum of the business world that never stopped. But the strange encounter stayed with him, a shadow that lingered in the back of his mind. Then, just when he thought he was going crazy, the unexpected happened. Zhou Yang found himself in a perilous situation, one he couldn't have predicted. An old rival, someone he had thought was long gone, had resurfaced. And this time, they weren't playing by the usual rules. Threats came from all sides: corrupt politicians, shady businessmen, and even his own trusted employees. Zhou Yang was blindsided, caught in a web of deceit and betrayal, as he fought to hold on to his empire. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone, somewhere, was watching over him. He wasn't alone, and that was when he saw her again, the little girl. This time, she wasn't standing on the sidewalk, looking lost. No, this time, she was right there, standing in the shadows, watching him. "You didn't think it would be that easy, did you?" she said, her voice still soft. But now there was an edge to it, a sense of purpose. Zhou Yang's heart skipped a beat. What did she mean by that? And why was she here again? Was she really just a child? Or was there something far more complex at play? His mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. Had she been sent by someone? Was she really his guardian angel, as strange as it seemed? Or was there something more sinister behind her appearance? The tension was thick, the air crackling with unanswered questions. As Zhou Yang stared into her eyes, he realized one thing. His life, as he knew it, was about to change forever. But the real question was, would he be ready for it? As the girl slowly walked away, her presence lingering in the air, Zhou Yang couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whatever forces were at play, they were far beyond anything he could have imagined. And just as the world he had built for himself seemed to be crumbling around him, one thing became clear. He would need to rely on someone he never expected. Zhou Yang didn't sleep that night. He sat by the large window of his penthouse, watching. The city lights flickered below like stars that had fallen to the ground. The little girl's words echoed in his head. Everything felt off, too quiet, too calm, like the calm before a storm. For someone like him, silence wasn't peace. It was a warning. The next morning, he called in extra security, doubled the firewalls on his systems, and tightened his schedule. But none of that gave him answers about her. Her name was Xiaoxi. That much he finally learned. She appeared again outside his building, holding a small red paper umbrella that looked like it belonged in a fairy tale. When Zhou Yang saw her, he rushed outside, heart pounding for reasons he couldn't explain. "Who are you?" he asked. She looked up at him with that same soft gaze, calm but unreadable. "I'm here to keep you safe," she said again, simply. No more, no less. Zhou Yang wanted to laugh. It was absurd. How could a small girl protect someone like him? Surrounded by bodyguards, protected by layers of tech, power and influence. But then again, no one else had warned him. No one else had noticed what she had. That afternoon, one of Zhou Yang's trucks exploded on the freeway. No one was seriously hurt, but the cargo was gone. Data servers meant for a government project. The news broke within the hour. His company's shares dipped. Zhou Yang stared at the TV screen in disbelief. It had to be sabotage. But from who? He had enemies, of course. Too many to count. Years of crushing competition and exposing corruption had left more than a few bruised egos behind. But this attack wasn't random. It was precise. Someone wanted him ruined, and they were playing the long game. Xiaoxi appeared again the next day, this time waiting by his car, before he even left the building. "Don't go to the office today," she said softly. He ignored her. He wasn't about to take orders from a child, but halfway through the day, while in a meeting with shareholders, the building's power went out. A cyber attack. Emails were leaked, private conversations, legal files. Out in the open, it was a mess. Zhou Yang's jaw clenched as he sat in his office, the only light coming from the emergency bulbs overhead. How had she known? He finally demanded answers. That evening, Back at his apartment, he confronted her. "How do you know what's going to happen?" he asked. "Are you some kind of spy?" "No," she said. "I told you. I'm your guardian. I'm not here by accident." Joe Yang stared at her. There was something about the way she spoke, so calm, so certain, that made him feel like a child himself. "You're not normal," he muttered. She didn't argue. Neither is what's coming. He didn't believe in angels or fate, but now doubt had crept in. There was more happening here than he could explain. And he didn't like not being in control. As days passed, Joe Yang noticed patterns. Every time Xiaoxi showed up, something bad followed. A leak, an attack, a betrayal. But each time, her presence helped him stay one step ahead. It wasn't just luck. She knew things she shouldn't. His world was collapsing piece by piece, but somehow she kept him standing. His closest advisor, Chen Lei, who had been with him for 10 years, suddenly resigned without notice. At first, Joe Yang thought it was stress, but when he investigated, he found something worse. Chen Lei had been secretly selling company secrets for months. Trusted hands had turned against him. Who could he trust now? The deeper he dug, the uglier it got. His own legal team had been bribed to delay responses to lawsuits. Several middle managers were quietly backing a rival company. Even the media seemed to be turning against him overnight. Someone was pulling strings, pushing him toward a full collapse. Xiaoxi was the only constant. She didn't explain much, but when she was near, he felt a strange sense of calm. She'd appear without warning and vanish just as easily. She didn't eat much, didn't talk unless needed. Once, he asked her where she came from. She paused and said, "A place where people go when they're needed and leave when they're not." The night of the gala came, the company's biggest annual event, meant to inspire investors and boost morale. Despite everything, Joe Yang decided to go. He needed to show strength. Xiaoxi didn't stop him this time, but her eyes told a different story. She looked worried. The event started smoothly. The ballroom glittered with golden lights and quiet jazz. People smiled, made small talk, complimented his resilience. But beneath it all, Joe Yang could feel it. Something was wrong. Halfway through his speech, the fire alarms went off. Panic rippled through the crowd. Security rushed in. There was no fire, just chaos. But in the confusion, a man pulled a gun. He wasn't aiming at the ceiling. He was aiming at Joe Yang. And just when the shot fired, time seemed to slow. Xiaoxi appeared, her small frame moving faster than anyone should be able to. She wasn't afraid. She stood between Joe Yang and the bullet. The sound was deafening. Joe Yang dropped to the floor, covering her instinctively. But when he looked up, there was no blood, no wound. The man with the gun was unconscious. Nobody even saw how it happened. Security dragged him away, and Xiaoxi stood still, as if nothing had happened. Later that night, after the chaos settled, Joe Yang sat on the floor of his private suite, staring at Xiaoxi. "What are you?" She looked at him, more serious than ever. "There are people coming for you. People who aren't like anyone you've faced before. You're not the only one being watched. You're not the only one being tested." "What does that mean?" he asked, voice trembling. She looked away. "It means that everything you think you know about your life, your past, even your success, it's all part of something bigger." And then she said the words that shook him to his core. "You were never meant to survive this alone." Before he could ask anything else, she disappeared again, leaving only the echo of her voice behind. Now, with enemies closing in, betrayal at every corner, and the line between reality and something far stranger starting to blur, Zhou Yang realizes one terrifying truth. His greatest fight isn't in the boardroom, and it's not about business. It's about survival. But the worst is still to come. And someone from his past, someone he thought was dead, is about to return. And they're not coming back for forgiveness. Zhou Yang couldn't shake her words. You were never meant to survive this alone. They haunted him more than the failed assassination attempt. He replayed that night over and over in his mind. How Xiaoxi moved. How the bullet never hit. How the gunman was down, without anyone seeing what really happened. Nothing made sense anymore. But things moved fast after that. Just when Zhou Yang thought it couldn't get worse, a name from the past returned. Li Feng, his former partner, his closest friend, and the man who had died in a mysterious car crash 5 years ago. Except he wasn't dead. Zhou Yang received a single text message one morning. No number, no name, just 3 words. Miss me, partner. At first, he froze, then disbelief, then rage. Li Feng had been the brain behind their first company. They built everything together until things fell apart. Li Feng had disappeared after a bit of fallout over stolen research. Zhou Yang had blamed himself for years. But now the truth hit like a punch. Li Feng didn't die. He went underground, and now he was back. Xiaoxi reappeared as if on cue, standing at the corner of Zhou Yang's private garden. It's him, isn't it? Zhou Yang asked. She nodded. He's behind all of it. The leaks, the sabotage, the attack. Why? Zhou Yang demanded. She looked at him quietly. Because he thinks you stole his future. And now he wants to take yours. Everything came together. Every threat, every betrayal. Li Feng had planned this for years, hiding in the shadows, turning Zhou Yang's world inside out, and now he was ready to finish it. But Zhou Yang wasn't running. With Xiaoxi's quiet guidance, he launched a counterattack, not with violence, but with the truth. He leaked proof of Li Feng's manipulation to the media, exposed the fake identities, the shell companies, the secret networks. He used everything he had learned from this nightmare and flipped the game. It worked. Mostly. But Li Feng wasn't done. In a final act of desperation, he cornered Zhou Yang at the old research lab they had once built together. The place was abandoned now, dusty and cold. The 2 men stood facing each other for the first time in 5 years. You took everything. From me? Li Feng spat. I didn't, Zhou Yang said quietly. You gave it away the moment you let revenge guide you. Before Li Feng could react, Xiaoxi stepped between them. And this time, she wasn't a quiet little girl. Light seemed to ripple around her. She stood tall, not in body, but in presence. Her voice was clear and firm. You've gone too far, Li Feng. For a second, he looked shaken. What are you? I'm the reason he's still alive, she said. And I'm the reason you're not going to hurt anyone else. It wasn't magic. It wasn't force. But something in her gaze made Li Feng crumble. Years of anger, pain, and guilt broke. All at once. He fell to his knees. After the authorities took him away, silence settled. Zhou Yang stood in the lab, breathing heavily, looking at Xiaoxi. So, are you leaving now? She smiled gently. You don't need me anymore. But I don't even know what you are, he said. You saved me. She nodded. That was my purpose. I came to protect you, guide you when you lost your way. I'm not here to stay. He didn't argue. He just looked at her, and for once, let his heart speak. Thank you. She began to fade, slowly, like a soft breeze carrying light away. Wait, he called. Will I ever see you again? Maybe, she said, when the world forgets who you are, and you start to forget yourself. I'll be back, and then she was gone. Joe Yang returned to his life, but it would never be the same. He rebuilt his company, brick by brick. But this time, with the right people by his side, the public saw him not just as a CEO, but as a man who survived betrayal and chaos with grace. He never saw Xiaoxi again, but sometimes, when the wind brushed his cheek on a quiet evening, or when the city lights flickered just right, he felt her presence, and he smiled, because deep down he knew she was never really gone. Sometimes, the people who protect us the most are the ones we never expected, and sometimes, even a CEO needs a guardian angel. The end.